Hey guys, it is Lastbrohican, and I'm excited but also timid about giving you this game review. I really did not think I was going to be giving it so soon because I thought the game wasn't coming out till 2018, but I think this is something we've all been waiting for. Myself, Luxboo, and many of our subscribers have been waiting for, like I just said, is the game review for the Guild 3. Now, I'm going to be completely honest in saying that I'm pretty comfortable with the idea that despite myself and Luxboo really hyping up this game and us talking about how excited we were when it got announced and talking about the gameplay and things we hope to see, I really was not that pleased when I saw that they were going to send this game into early access. And that's because considering the size of the publisher and the legacy of the game series itself, seeing really anything move into Steam early access right now just sends off a lot of the wrong signals. You know, there's a lot of dubious reasons as to why people do that. Sometimes it's either an asset grab or it's showing that the company itself is in financial straits. It could mean a lot of things, and it could also mean nothing. I mean, it could just be that THQ Nordic and Golem Labs decided, hey, you know what, we're just going to push this into early access, test the waters, see what we need to tweak before we fully release it, and then maybe we can deliver a really good game, a better game than Guild 2. And if that's the case, I respect that. But I have to look at the past, and I have to look and see as to what's been released before on early access and just how many games just do not make it out of there or just get stuck there. I mean, shoot, we still got Rust, we still got Ark, we still got so many different games in there that are just stuck in the early access mode, and we don't see anything changing for the next few years. So, given that Guild 3 is in early access right now and is, I think, its version 0.18, there are bugs galore. There's so many bugs. I could talk forever about the bugs I encountered just in my few hours of playing it, but that's not what I want to review on, because when you buy an early access game, especially like this one that's in its infancy, it's kind of unfair to knock a game solely on its bug and its performance issues. Those are things that are meant for fully released, polished games. So what I'm going to do is my review is going to be on the real meat and potatoes of the game. You know, we're going to talk about what's the content, what's the features, and how the game actually plays. I'm not going to talk about any of the bugs. Hopefully my critiques and positives aren't going to touch on the game's early accessness, its early state. Really, when I say that, I really mean more of my critiques. Hopefully these are things that they're either A, trying to work out, or B, can take in as I want to say, suggestions, playful suggestions. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump in the negatives first. I don't know if I've ever done that, but I think it will just be better and it will flow better if I jump to the negatives, then the positives, and then get my verdict. Okay, so the first negative I have in terms of the actual functionality of the game, and the thing that definitely grinded my gears first, was that in terms of titles, you no longer buy titles. That means when you move from a commoner to a yeoman to a citizen and so on, that's no longer done by going into the magistrates or the center office building or anything like that. It's now given to you by some arbitrary amount of your own output. For example, when I made enough daggers, I just instantly jumped a whole new class. And maybe I'm not sure why this irked me as much as it did, but I just did not understand why they changed this. Mainly because, realistically, if you're just sitting at your home making daggers or whatever, no one's going to come out of the woodwork and hand you a scroll saying they gave you a promotion due to the mass amount of stockpiles of daggers you had sitting in your house. If that was the case, every doomsday prepper would be the mayor or land baron of whatever dirt mound they called home. Like, it just made no sense to me, and I didn't know why it was being played like that. I don't know why they changed that about the game. So, THQ Nordic and Golem Labs, if you're hearing this right now, please revert it back to us buying titles. I don't see why we changed it to this silly little output thing. My next negative about the game is that even though this is an entirely new game, no expansion, this is a new standalone guild game, is that we really didn't see much improvement in the way of classes or professions. You know, there's no new class, which I could maybe understand and say, okay, what more could you honestly think of in terms of classes? You know, you have your craftsman, your patron, your rogue, and your scholar. I know they're different names now. It's like food maker and herbalist and rogue and handicraft something. I forget the exact title names off the top of my head, but you get what I'm saying. It's the same four, just renamed to new stuff. And then when you drill into the professions of each one, they're even less than what they were before. Like handicrafts or a craftsman, I hate saying handicrafts. The craftsman has lost some, like, you know, being able to buy your own mine or your own lumberjack mill. And I don't know. And then, like, scholar lost the ability to buy a church. Yeah, there's like a couple new ones in their places, but I was really hoping to see a little bit more here. I'm a little disappointed in looking at these new professions and being like, oh, or sorry, not even new professions, the same professions, being like, oh, so this is what we're getting with the new game, is just a lot of the same stuff. I just really was not a fan of seeing that, and who knows, maybe we'll see more with the coming patches, but it definitely fell on a flat note when I first started playing. My last negative about the game is the leveling up system. It's wholly different than what it was in Guild 2, and not for the better, at least in my humble opinion. Now it's less of a true mix of how you are as a character and how you are as a profession, and more of just exclusively how you work as a profession. You don't get to choose like different perks or different new actions for your character. You just kind of level up to the next like patron or craftsman level to buy the new house. That's it. That's all it's got going for it. There's no real way to branch off from that. It's very linear than how it used to be in the other game, where you could, you know, add on all these neat perks to your character, and it was honestly really cool to do that. You could level up and you'd have these huge juggernauts of, you know, patriarchs or matriarchs in the family. That they did away with that, and it's a pretty sad leveling up system now, and including skills as well, base skills and whatever you get added on. And then including that, you no longer can like perk into new, or like pick up new actions, new abilities. You know, you just buy those at your building. You know, you upgrade your building and you have more new actions you can buy for your character. And I was just like, oh, that sucks. That's just a really disappointing way to play the game if that's the case. So that was another really big and kind of crushing negative about the game for me. And like I hope that they can maybe reconsider that and change course before they go down this really bland skill tree. But because otherwise it's really sad to see. I gotta be honest here. Okay, I feel like I've done a lot of ragging on the game. Now let's hit some of the positives, because there are definitely some well-founded positives and some things that when I started playing it, I was like, oh, you know what? This is actually a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. So my first positive was that they really added and expanded upon the societies, or in Guild 2, the guilds themselves. I find it funny because I didn't even really think about it until I was playing this, that despite the name being the guild, in the second one, the guilds are so flat. They're so boring and nothing really to do with them. It's so much different in this. Not only do you have guilds based on whatever profession you're in, but you also have like secret orders and stuff like that, secret societies that you can be a part of and help build and, you know, add new members. And I think that's really cool. And I think especially for like a more of a late game addition to it, I think that's a really neat thing that they added on. And I think if a player can put in the time and the elbow grease into the game, that will pay a lot of dividends for them. The next positive I have is that I really love the poor person mode that they added to the game, where you start off as a commoner, but a honestly really destitute one. You don't have a whole lot of money to your name or resources. You're just making objects out of your house and selling them in hopes to rank up to the Yeoman and get your first hut or whatever it is to build your own stuff. I think that's honestly pretty neat, and the idea that you are also just in this ramshackle house on the outskirts of towns, you know, you're really just hoping that maybe not yourself, but your dynasty can flourish and maybe be living in the center of a town, of the bustling city center, and expanding your commercial empire, which will take time, and I don't think the devs have quite smoothed out the whole dating thing, so I don't really know how well anyone can, you know, quite produce offspring right now. However, I think that this is a game mode that I will be spending a ton more time on and has a lot of promise. And devs, once again, if you're listening to me, I would like to push it one bit further, and that not only have the poor person mode be potentially you being a commoner, but maybe even a serf or whatever the lowest class is, and working your way up, working different jobs and doing that. I think that would be a pretty fun way to play the game. Okay, my last positive is one that I will admit first started off as a huge negative, but then when I really got to kind of get into the game and into its grooves, it was something I definitely more grew to love. And that was that, at least how it looks right now, this could definitely change since it's in early access, but I wasn't a fan of it only being one city. But then when I really got the idea of that it's not necessarily just one city, it's the massive city center, and then the outlying subdivisions or smaller towns around it that kind of feed into it, that's what made it pretty cool to me. And it makes it feel much more lively with the whole game itself. I think it also adds just a ton of character to the map as well, and that's just a huge improvement of the game as well, is that the maps seem much more richer and fuller than what they were in Guild 2. And so I really like the ideas, you know, the pure capitalist way of doing it is like the idea is that when you start as some ramshackle peasant on the outside of town, that you can slowly build your way up to middle and upper class and move closer and closer into the city and into the city life, just as any good capitalist red-blooded person would want. Okay, and that is the last of my positives. It does run a little bit shorter than the negatives, I have to say, but I always think I have more to say about the negatives of any game than I do of the positives. But let's jump right into the verdict now. Now, I am going to say first and foremost that right now, playing the game 2 days after release on Early Access, this game is rough around the edges. There is no two ways about it. This is a tough game to play in its current state. I'm not going to lie to you that, like I said at the beginning of the game, I could go on for another 20 minutes about all the bugs I've already encountered with the game and the things that already make me annoyed, and how 2 of my games have already just completely been crashed due to the bugs themselves. So that being said, I cannot in good conscience recommend this to someone who is looking to get into the Guild series for the first time. You know, if this is a game you're maybe potentially interested in looking at, 100% go to the Guild 2, play that. I forget how much it is on Steam right now. There's no way the base one is more than $20. And especially with all the expansions, maybe it's 30. Play that, see how you like that. If you like the Guild 2, then come back in a couple months and give the Guild 3 a shot. So, coupling that, I would say that if you are a person who is a fan of the series and wants to support the development of the game, then I would say to buy the game, but then maybe sit on it for a little while. I would not really recommend playing the game right now. Let some patches come out. Buy it so the devs can, you know, get some little spending dough and keep the game and the dream alive a little bit longer. But the game's too tough really for honestly anyone to even play now. I know Luxboo's been really enjoying it, but it's been tough to do so right now, but I don't think that it's worth completely not recommending the game just on the bugs alone. That's not what early access is about. We all should know that. If anyone here is truly knocking the game and saying don't buy just on the bugs alone, they really shouldn't be doing a whole lot of reviewing about the game. My own humble opinion. So with that, guys, I am going to recommend this game, but in its current state, I have to give it a pretty firm 2 out of 5. It's definitely not a whole lot to write home about right now with the bugs and everything like that, and it does really hurt the gameplay, but I would be totally interested in revisiting my score couple weeks, couple months down for the line, shoot, even when it's fully released, and giving a completely different review and completely different score in this game. Well, guys, that's all I have. This is Lastbrohican, and I hope you enjoyed this game review. If you have any suggestions of games you would like me to review, hit that comment box. If this is your first time, hit that subscribe. And as always, guys, happy gaming, gamers.